Let's go. Have you ever wanted your own emoji stuffy? You can make one. My third graders and I started these before we got out for distance learning, and you may be like Noah and took some unfinished artwork home. Watch this video and I'll show you how to start one, or if you're one of my third graders, how to finish one. The supplies you're going to need for this project, you may have already gotten your 2 circles back, your 2 felt circles. If you did, you can totally use those. If you're not in my third grade classes, or if you didn't get circles back, you're gonna have to cut your own circles out of felt. You're also gonna need a pair of scissors. Now, everyday scissors, student scissors work fine, but these are fabric scissors, and they are just a little bit sharper, and they make it a little bit easier to cut through the fluffy felt. You're gonna need a Sharpie, and then you'll need a needle, and pins would be really helpful. And of course, we'll be using thread. And these pieces of papers over here are my needle threaders. They're gonna make it really easy to thread those needles. You also need something to stuff your pillow with. For those who don't have circles cut, or those who want different colors or sizes, let's see, we'll do the funny purple devil horns emoji. I really love that one. It's probably my favorite. So I use this purple piece of felt. I'm going to trace to make a good circle. You can trace any circle you have. A roll tape works, a plate works, cup, or a bottle or something, anything shaped like a circle. You just don't want it to be too small. So I'm going to take my roll of tape and hold it with my left hand while I hold my Sharpie with my right. Any marker works. And I'm just going to real soft drag that Sharpie around my roll of tape. Just like that. Lid on. So to cut 2 circles exactly the same size, the easy way to do it would be to fold it in half and cut both pieces together. Okay, now we have 2 pieces of felt exactly the same size and shape. And we're going to sew these 2 pieces of felt together. But if we don't hold them together with pins, they're going to slip and slide and kind of try to move around on us. So we're going to use just a couple pins to pin these 2 pieces of felt together. So I'm going to push the pin all the way through both pieces of fabric. So it went through not one, but both pieces of fabric. And the pointy end is out the back. Then I'm going to bend everything down and push the pointy end so the pointy end comes back out the front. So watch again, it's pushed all the way through, bend everything down, and then push that pin back through. So both ends of the pin are hanging out here on the front of our felt, of our circles. I'm gonna do that one more time. So push all the way through, bend everything, and push the pin, the tip back out the front. So now our felt won't slide around when we start to sew. Next thing we need to do is sew around the edges, sew our 2 circles together. And to do that, we're going to use thread and a needle. Get a pretty long piece of thread. When we thread our needles and tie a knot to get started sewing, we're really kind of folding this. We're going to kind of fold the thread in half. So really the piece of string I'm getting, I'm really only going to use like half of that length. So go ahead and get a little bit longer piece than you think you need. And then your needle. Let's talk about this needle for a second. Needle is kind of like a pin, but it is different because it has, where are we? Here we are. It has a pointy end on one side, but on the other end, it has a hole. And this hole in the needle is called the eye. And the eye is where the thread is going to go right through. So to thread that needle, to put that small piece of thread through the small needle's eye can be a little tricky. So here's what we're gonna do. I've got a small piece of paper, which I folded in half like a hot dog. And then I check this piece of paper and make sure it can fit through the eye of the needle. Voila, just like that. Then I'm gonna use this as my needle threader. So to thread my needle, I'm gonna open up this piece of paper like a hot dog bun and put my thread right inside. And think of the thread is like the hot dog and the paper is like the bun. Now, no hot dog should be sticking out the end of your hot dog bun. So I'm gonna pull that thread in just a little bit, and then I'm gonna pinch everything really tight and put this whole hot dog bun with the thread inside right through the eye of that needle. So I'm gonna slide that paper through. Look, the thread is coming too, and push, 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 and then pull till that thread goes right through the needle. Super easy, super cool trick that I really, really, really love. Once your thread is through the needle's eye, then you're gonna match up the ends of your thread. End number one, and end number two, and put the ends of your thread together. Put them right next to each other so they're hanging out, where are we, together like they're one piece of thread. Now to make a knot, we have to knot these ends together. Make the letter U, make the letter O, and then take both tails and put them right through the middle of that O and pull. You want your knot to be really close to the ends of your thread, it's not supposed to be right by the needle. The knot is at one end, thread, 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 thread. Your needle is at the other end. And if you want to do a double knot, the letter U, the letter O, both ends through the middle, and pull. Try to make that second knot end up right the same spot that first knot is. Now you're ready to sew. All right, so we're gonna do something called a whip stitch. A whip stitch is where the needle is gonna whip around the fabric and go through the same way every single time. You may have done some sewing before and have done more of like an up and down stitch. That's called a running stitch. Whip stitches are best for this one because they help hold these two pieces of felt together. So try the whip stitch, even if you're not comfortable doing it. If you're into the running stitch, try this one. It will probably make your pillow stay together a little bit better. So I'm gonna take my pin and I'm gonna make sure it goes through both pieces of fabric. Watch out for your fingers, and push it through both pieces of fabric and then pull, pull, pull until the knot stops it. So now the knot's over here. Won't let it go any farther. That's a trick. You've always got to pull till you can't pull anymore. So I'm gonna go, instead of going down, I'm gonna whip my thread around and go back up the same way I did before. And that wraps that thread around, here we go, around the edge of the felt. And that's the pattern you're gonna follow. Whip your thread around, needle goes up through the same spot, the same direction, a little bit over. I keep getting my knot tails caught. And I just go back and fix it up. If it doesn't look perfectly perfect, it's fine. And then I'll whip around and keep going. Now I'm gonna go all the way around till I get, I'm gonna leave a little bit of an opening because that's where I have to fluff my stuff. So just keep whip stitching. Okay, when you're getting low on thread and you've got about a needle's length or a little bit more left of thread, you're gonna have to tie a knot. We've got a knot at this end holding everything together. We have to have a knot holding this end together too as an anchor so the thread doesn't come unraveled later. So what we're gonna do to tie our knot on this end is we're gonna do the airplane trick, another great sewing trick. I'm gonna pretend my needle is an airplane. and it's taking off from the airport, but it realizes that it forgot a passenger, and it's going to turn around and go pick up the last stitch. So when I'm picking up the last stitch, I'm just going right underneath that last stitch I made with my thread, and I'm pulling my needle through. But as he's taking off, he realizes he forgot to go back and pick up the loop. So I'm going to U-turn my needle in the air and go back through that loop before I pull it tight. And then I can take off, and now I have a knot right there. But I like to do that twice. So I'm gonna, again, pretend my needle's an airplane, go back to the airport, pick up the loop, or go back to the airport, pick up the last stitch. Then before I take off, U-turn before I pull it too tight, and go back and pick up that loop. And then pull, 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 pull. Now I can cut my thread and rethread my needle and just keep sewing. And I'll stop to leave an opening. First class sewing project. And sometimes our stitches don't look fabulous. So when we flip inside out, just like a sock, flip them inside out, all those stitches end up being on the inside. So we see a little bit of that thread, but not nearly as much. None of the knots and tails hanging out. So I'm using my fingers to really kind of push, not super hard to rip out my stitches, but make sure everything is turned right side out. And now all those edges are on the inside. So I'm gonna fluff my stuff. This is the way we did it in class. I'm gonna leave this tail hanging on. I did tie it in a knot, but I'm not gonna cut it and have to tie extra knots. I'm just gonna leave them hanging here while I fluff my stuff. I'm gonna put as much fluff in there as I can. I might put a little extra than I did before. So he's extra fluffy. I lost my fluff. Oh, hold up. Just a little. All right. Ooh, now he's super fluffy. All right, and then I would pin together my edges and then sew along there. I might try, if you've kind of got the hang of this, you got an adult helper, I might try to fold in my edges of this last part of my circle to keep my circle shape a little bit better. Without pinning, it would still be a circle, but it kind of have this little longer part at the top. But if you can get, just with this fancy finger work here, if you can fold in those edges and then pin it, that might keep your circle shape a little bit better. All right, so I'm gonna hold it tight and grab the pin and hope it doesn't come undone. Pin all the way through, bend, push out, push it back out the front. Watch out for those fingers. And, well, let me redo this little corner right here. In, out the front. I might do another one on this side too. And that kind of makes it a little bit, I mean, it still has some little pokes because this is our very first sewing project ever. If it's not perfectly perfect, it's totally fine. Okay, and then I'm gonna keep sewing that whip stitch along the edge. Go back. And there we have it. We have sewn a pillow. Now it's not going to be an emoji until we add some facial features. And for mine, it's also going to need some horns. So for that part, you'll just need some white glue. Glue sticks will not work. Glue sticks are really good for paper, but not for gluing together felt and fabric like this. So white glue will work, craft glue will work. You could even, if you're feeling really good, comfortable with your needle and thread, you could even sew those pieces on. Your call. And then you'll cut your pieces and glue them on. So I'm going to cut my horns, and some eyes and a little mouth is all my guy's going to need. And if you want to draw first with Sharpie, that's fine. I always suggest drawing bigger than you think you're going to need. You can always trim some off. So for my horns, I know that's too big, but I can fix it up if I need to. I fold in half so I can cut 2. All right, that's it. I'm gonna glue these on. Do be careful when you're gluing on. Things will not be stuck until tomorrow. So if you bump it or bonk it, they will come off. And if you're like me and gluing on extra pieces that hang off of the sides, you may be able to get it to stick just kind of by propping it up on something, maybe like a pair of scissors or something, just so those 2 pieces of felt with the glue are touching each other. But I just popped a little pin through that one to hold it while it's drying. And I'll do the same for this one, just because I don't want to, I want to move him a little bit. I want to make sure they stick good. So I'll just let him dry, and he'll dry, the glue will dry clear, so no worries if you have a little bit of glue here and there. No one will ever know when the glue is dry. That's how you make an emoji stuffy. Have fun.
Jeez.
Let's go.
I feel like you should cut out the whole entire end parts.
No.
Dang it! Alright, so no pictures.
Look, I'll make it my face. If I hold him just right, watch. Does it look like he's my head? Look, Noah.
No,
It looks like my head.
No, it doesn't.
Promise, I'm not a devil.
You are.
I'm just making a devil emoji stuffy.
Dang
Careful, he's dangerous.